Is buying collectible and classic cars now the same thing as burning your money? We're going to talk about that and more, plus predictions. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your YouTube card game show. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of Bid Nerds Live. Look at that. We've got special guests. My name is John Polnick. We're coming to you live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, as well as my partner, Michael Deeb, over on the far side of the screen, the one that looks particularly like an idiot. And in the middle, who's that, Michael Deeb?
JP, it is absolutely one of my most favorite people. Every time I talk to this guy, I spend the next 2 days going, why don't I see more of him? Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Harrington the third, right? Isn't it the third?
Fourth. You are.
Fourth,
I'm one
Frank?
of many. I'm not one of a kind.
Frank Harrington the fourth. I was going to call you Trip. I don't even know what you call somebody the fourth Quattro. Frank Harrington, formerly of Cars and Bids, now a mercenary, a gun for hire.
Right.
If you need photos, if you need representation, if you need something, removed and no receipts or a paper trail, Frank Harrington is your man. Frank, rumor has it that you had a blast in Car Week, and you've been spending a lot of time with our dear friend Ingo from Genau. Tell us how life post big platform has been for you. You look great.
Why, thank you. No, it's and hello everybody. No, it's been great. I had a good run at Cars and Bids. We did some fun things. I'm still very much in contact with all my friends there, and I do consider them friends. And now that I'm in the world of freelancing, taking a lot of photos, doing a lot of photo work for friend of the podcast, Ingo of Genau. Genau, I should say, AutoWorks.
In a studio, if I may be so bold as to imply, you helped build and construct, and you have something to do with it?
A little bit. I would say I was more of the best boy or key grip, I suppose. Sure. I didn't design it. Ingo and a gentleman named Josh Bryan, who's an excellent, well-known photographer. You might know him of taking pictures for 911R, one of the best in the game. So, I am an automotive photographer. He is the automotive photographer. So it was his vision. He put it together with Ingo. In
Northern California, JP. It's just in Northern California.
Sure.
Or Portland is
Vegas,
the word, right?
Vegas doesn't exist. It's a myth.
Yeah.
I hate the Golden Knights. Let's not get into it.
Who are they?
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
I mean, that's that hockey thing that only losers watch. Yeah, got it. All right, let's get on to the show, guys. We're here to talk about cars, and is it time to burn some money? We're going to talk about a bunch of cars that represent just that. If you are new to the show, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you introduce yourself in the Nerd Herd. That's the live chat down below. I think we have some new Nerd Herd members tonight, so we will welcome them a little bit later. So thanks for hanging out with us. All right, guys. We always start off every episode by going over the predictions that we made on the last episode. That's what we do. We analyze listings and make predictions, and we always start off every episode holding ourselves accountable. How weird is that on the internet? What was the first car on the list? Talk about burning money. Let's get to it. What's the first one?
All right, JP, we're going to circle right back to a 1986 Porsche 944 Turbo with the Deja Vu package. John, you may remember this car being in the private collection of our mutual former boss, Gary of God and Porsche. This was his personal car when I got there. JP, he may have acquired it after you had met him, but he was very proud of this car because of its beautiful condition and its ridiculously low miles. 2,500 miles from new. You just don't find them like this very often. The car is really, really beautiful. And at that time, JP, I helped Gary part with this car. And so we made a single phone call and the car went to the Midwest. And then a few years later, you and I started doing a podcast, and this car came up for auction, and it went to Bring a Trailer back in August of 2023. At that time, the car sold for $100,000, which is 2,300 miles on the odometer. So, JP, obviously, we keep track of the VINs. We know cars. Especially when we've touched and engaged a car, it becomes like a friend. You know the car. So when this car popped up out of Fairfield, Connecticut as an alumni listing on Bring a Trailer, I went, hang on a second. And I immediately ran and, I'm going to tell you how I cheated. I just checked the Carfax and yep, this was our car. John, these photos are pitiful. I don't need to tell you that, Frank. But anyways, we wondered aloud if this poor representation would get it done. That being said, transaxle cars are not exactly ringing the bell at this moment. So, John, $100,000 is what this guy is into this car. Would he get it out? I thought he might get $86,000, and that's where I placed my bid. John, you took the under at $79,944. Frank, welcome back to the show. It is so good to see you. What do you think a 944 turbo with absurdly low miles on Bring a Trailer with cell phone photos in a multi-million-dollar mansion in Connecticut might bring in the aftermath of Car Week on Bring a Trailer? Where's your bid? And what do you think of the cars?
Oh, boy.
You've had a 924. I know you rock the transaxle. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I'm a transaxle truther. You know, I've had a couple of 924s, one a turbo, one an NA. Both never wanted to work. You know what? This car, it's funny, when you guys were spitting out numbers, I was, even before that, I was mentally putting a pin in at 78 was my thought. I do think the pictures hold it back a little bit. I'm not a big guards guy, but it is in the proverbial resale red. So, you know, I don't think, God, some of these photos are bad. Just like the ends are cut off and whatever. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going 78.
And Frank, that would push you closer than JP. Welcome back to the show. Way to step on the host. That's perfect for you, Frank. Our car hammered at just $70,500 where it failed to sell on 12 bids. So JP, the number is low, but not out of line with the way the car is represented. The bid count is low, which is very interesting. You'd still think there'd be a lot of underbidders at the low realm. So I wonder if that bid count is reflective of the time of year, or is it reflective of the transaxle cars not being super desirable? I know you have a lot to say about this listing, so let me immediately hand it over to you.
I don't know if I do. I mean, really, the fact is, there's one simple thing to say. I mean, we're talking about burning money. This is a 30% loss. That's not burning money. That's taking a flamethrower to his investment. That is really, really harsh. And the fact that he didn't decide to take the money means hopefully someone in this whole process said, look, okay, you're not going to get more than 70 on this listing, so just forget it. Run away, lick your wounds. Let's come back in the maybe in the spring and get it sold with a professional seller, someone who knows how to properly list this car. This car is actually special, 2,500 miles. This thing should actually bring some real money. I'm not saying that 944 turbos and transaxle cars are on their way up, but this car has 2,500 miles. This is basically, that's almost delivery miles. I mean, this is a collector car. It needs to be represented like one, and it just looks like a run-of-the-mill Facebook Marketplace ad. What do you think of that result, Frank?
You know what? It's interesting. You know, coming off of Car Week, what I noticed was there were a lot of older generation people cars, for lack of a better way to put it, that didn't perform as well. Some of the vintage Ferraris and stuff like that. And I think just like those are the older generation is looking for vintage Ferraris and things like that didn't perform during Car Week. There also tend to be the crew that wants to buy a near delivery mileage car that you can't drive because you drive the value out of it and then squirrel it away. And so I maybe it's a regression to that mean of that trend where the people that are buying cars right now and the stuff that's hot are younger people. I don't want to say like myself because I'm not that young anymore, but younger generation people who buy stuff and want to drive it. And so I haven't done the homework on this car. I don't know what the service records look like. I don't know if this thing's ready to go, but I assume at 2,100, 2,600 miles or whatever, it's going to need a whole bunch of work to put in it if you want to drive this car. So I think those strikes work against it. And I don't know. That's just me coming in cold. And
it's an interesting take. I mean, so young timers, as an official demographic, the folks, sure, you know, basically somewhere between millennials and call it Gen Zs. I think you're right. I think most of them are looking for experiences. They're not buying to collect yet. They're not old enough to buy as collectors. They're only looking for something to do and something to experience. And you can get into this experience for far less and not ruin the value of something. This doesn't make any sense, even if it is ready to go. This is a collector car, plain and simple, and I just don't think. Again, I think it's because it wasn't represented like a collector car, which means the collector type of person doesn't even click on this listing because they just immediately, subliminally, they just see that first photo and they go, oh, this is just a regular 944. Unless there's someone who's a really savvy collector that's looking for that opportunity, maybe. But I don't know. Let us know what you guys think of the results of this super low miles collector 944 that burned up the investment, lost $30,000 or more since they didn't really sell it at all, especially if you count inflation. Holy cow, that's a really bad beat for them. All right, let's move on to the next car. What do we got?
All right, I bet Frank Harrington has driven a right-hand drive car with 3 pedals. Feast your eyes on a 1995 Honda NSX-R, a premium listing on Bring a Trailer in the aftermath or the waning moments of Car Week out of Naperville, Illinois. As a premium listing, this car would have been live, I think, during Car Week and then closed on the 22nd, showing 26,000 kilometers. That is only 16,000 miles. They made 483 of these cars for the domestic Japanese market. This numbered car is one of the last at number 478. So low miles, low production run, and extraordinary performance, and a bit of an icon and a legend. JP, I know you don't fully understand this car because it's not like it has a much bigger motor or makes any more horsepower, but the association to Senna, and it was at a time when Honda was respected for their performance because they were winning races in Formula One in those days. Honda's name carried more weight then than it does now, and this was their first contemporary true flagship, I don't say world beater because it's not a supercar, but this was a car that really got it done. So JP, there is a number for with Classic pertaining to the Honda NSXR, even though this car was never sold in the United States, and that is $362,000 on average. JP, I thought this car, being one, on the ground and titled in the United States, and two, being in excellent condition, beautiful presentation, and super low miles, would do better than that. My bid, over 400 at $425,000. JP, you took the under at just $395,000. Frank Harrington, welcome back to the show. What do you think? Have you driven a right-hand drive with 3 pedals? And give me a number for the NSX-R.
Oh boy, I own a right-hand drive car with 3 pedals. It's a photo booth. So it's a little different. If you were at Motorlux this year, you might have seen it. But as for the NSXR, I don't really follow the values on these, but it's the pinnacle of Honda. If you're going to be buying an OEM Honda product. So, they got the gearing right in these. It's the right color. It's the one you want. I like right in between you guys. I'm thinking around 415, I think, is probably the number on this car.
All right, and that's not a bad guess because you're over. Yeah, it's over 400. Our car really did do well. JP, this premium listing hammered for $450,679, and it sold on 39 bids of the 6 cars that we covered the other day. 39 bids was the highest bid count of them all. JP, that car is truly it is just on the fringe of being like a supercar of the young timer movement. I'm not surprised by that result at all. I know you said when we looked at the car earlier, you don't get it. When you see it hit 450, do you think that do you think it was really well sold, or do you think it was really well bought?
I was referring specifically to the right-hand driveness of this car. Because,
got it.
I totally get it. I mean, look, I was lucky enough to drive like a 993 RS over the weekend. And, look, if you've ever driven a regular 993, they don't look that much different from a 993 RS, and people mod them and do all kinds of stuff trying to make them like a 993 RS, and they can get them closer to, but it's not the same thing at all, right? It's a different animal, and I understand that case with this particular car, especially when you look at the details, and I don't know, particularly the interior really kind of makes it obvious that we're dealing with something different. The internals on the engine is different there's a list of things that make this car that much better, but right-hand drive, to me, I just don't I don't understand this other than collectability. Did they ever make them with a left-hand drive? You guys would know better than I would.
Not the R.
No.
No.
Yeah, it's like, oh God. If they did, would that be $1 million car at this point?
Yes.
I mean, that's a legit question. I think it would.
If an LFA Nürburgring is, this car absolutely would be, especially, in Western Europe and here. These cars would bring $1 million. Yeah.
All right, Frank, what do you think of that result?
Killer result. Great car. I think it deserved it. Presentation's great.
What do we think of the idea? Now, when we were talking about this car, we were talking about the idea that selling during Car Week is dumb, that you're not going to get the top money for cars. Does this just blow that theory out of the water? I mean, because that's a pretty darn good result, right?
Well, it didn't hammer during Car Week, but because it was a premium listing, it was running during Car Week and closed post, which is kind of what we did with that little SC cab. So, Frank, just for context, we covered a couple of cars that were essentially closing during Car Week, and almost every one of them that didn't bring top dollar, despite a good presentation, or ones that failed to sell. I was criticizing. I was like, hey, man, you got to get the timing right. It's okay to be live during Car Week, but you want to close after everybody's gotten home and settled in. And this car did just that.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I agree. I think going live and closing just after, I think, is a smart play. That's what I would want to do.
All right, it's definitely not. Somebody was burning money, and that was the buyers on that particular car. That's a lot of dough. What do you guys think of the result? Let us move on to the next car. What do we got?
All right, Frank, we took a deep dive on a 1991 Porsche 964 Turbo that says sunroof delete. That can only mean one thing. Grand Prix Motors has brought another car in from Japan or wherever they get these really cool cars. It's in signal green to boot. Of course, it's got a ZZZ VIN, and the odometer shows 84,866 kilometers. That's about $53,000. More and more, we're seeing Grand Prix Motors take some of their premium cars that haven't sold on their website to market with P-Car Market. Now, I was very critical, Frank, because when I did the research on the model, I saw that this car had been listed by them and it had been offered on their website at $399,900. That car would have been sitting there for better part of a year. They barely delist it, and then they bring it to market and they run it on P-Car Market. In my mind, that is not the right way the oats go through the horse. And so I think that they're doing it bass backwards. And I thought that would stump them at the finale. The car would not make it to hammer and sell. My bid, in reflection of that train of thought, was only $291,911. JP was almost 60 grand under me. His bid just $229,640. So the gist of it is they were asking $400. The car is certainly worth close to that because of the color, fair mileage, excellent condition, and then being a sunroof delete. This is something that was impossible to get in the United States. But running it in the classifieds for a year, then delisting it and taking it to market, I didn't think would get it done. Where are you at on that process and a number for this car?
I think I largely agree. I think if you do want to try your hand and sell it at market first, there's a way to do it. Doing it on P-Car Market is not that way, in my opinion. All of that said, I don't know. I like to think it crests 300. Let's go with 321.
321.
And it doesn't. Right, and it doesn't sell.
And it doesn't sell. And that number tracks with probably the sale, no sale. But Frank, I hope you're hungry because JP and I just got served a plate of crow from our friends at P-Car Market, fresh from Oyster Bay. Is this result hammer of $360,000 where the car sold on 26 bids in the natural auction? This was not a post-hammer deal. I have to begrudgingly tip my hat to P-Car Market for getting it done. And the cojones on the folks up there at Grand Prix Motors are something to behold. I did not, JP, that is almost 100 grand over my bid. They did it. And I really don't think it works like that. Like, I'm going to say congratulations on the sale, but I would not encourage them to keep doing cars like this. I still don't think that's a winning recipe on how to make it work. And Frank alluded to that as much. JP, what did you make First, how hard did you choke and laugh when you saw that car sold? And then what do you think of that result?
Yeah, I mean,
the Bindner's car. Yeah. The Bindner's car got away.
Yeah, I'm super disappointed that we did not sell enough hats. I specifically asked the Nerd Herd to start buying hats so we could bid on this thing, because clearly that is our car and some other jerk got it. Now, look, I don't. You know, I am not shy when it comes to criticizing P-Car Market or anyone who decides to sell a car there, because I think that's just a bad idea generally. But I don't know if your criticism is warranted with this particular seller, Deeb, because the idea that they said, oh, we're going to try to sell a car on our website or the classifieds first and then go to P-Car Market doesn't line up with the fact that these guys haven't really been selling anything on P-Car Market until now. I feel like it's like they've had cars sitting in their inventory that they haven't been able to sell, and they have been trying to sell on traditional platforms, and now they're going, oh, you know what? Let's just start doing it on P-Car Market and see what we can make happen there. If they had because they've had this car in inventory for a very, very long time, so try something new. That makes sense. If they got a car in their inventory today and listed it traditionally and then tried to sell it on P-Car Market, that's a whiff. I think that would be a valid criticism. I think that's basically what you're kind of talking about. But they already have this car in inventory. It's not like they were like, oh, it was just like, all right, well, let's try something new, because doing the same thing over and over again just makes it crazy, right?
Frank, they've been funneling cars to P-Car Market quite a bit this summer. I don't know if you've noticed that. I have, because as a huge Porsche fan and nut, I just sometimes, when I have nothing else to do, you know, with your phone in the hand on the commode, and just start looking at their inventory, because they always have so many beautiful cars up there in Portland. And so I have noticed quite a few of their cars come to P-Car Market. I have not been tracking their success ratio, but this one's a win. And JP's point is well taken. What do you make of this result, Frank?
Yeah, you know what? What's interesting is, so they sat on this car for a year,
at least,
and just So let's just say a calendar year for conversation's sake. If you just think of how expensive it is to have, they say, over $350,000 tied up in a car for a calendar year, while the market is slowly tapering off, and just inflation, they probably lost $40,000 if we're talking 5%. So I think, sitting on the car for a year and then pushing it to market with a platform that might not be the platform you want to run a car, versus this car is like tailor-made for an online auction. Yeah. It's hard to repeat. It's the right color. It gets all the eyeballs. If they brought this thing to market, if they got an inventory, prepped it, got it to market within, say, 30 days, even if it sold for the same money, even if it sold for $10,000 less, they'd be way ahead of the game, and they'd have more money in their pocket today.
What a great take! What a great take!
It's true, but you also have to factor in that a lot of times the owners and the people who run these bigger dealerships. I mean, let's take it. Grand Prix is not a small. I mean, they're very well known as classic Porsche sellers, right? They've been doing this for a long time, and they've been in the market, right? Friend of the show, Kelly Smith, is watching right now, and he mentioned that this was his favorite car at Air and Water. A lot of times, principals at fancy dealerships like this will buy cars that they want, and in order to own them, it makes more sense to make them as part of their inventory than it does to register them and pay the sales tax and do all that stuff. So they'll just basically buy it and put it on their website at a ridiculously high price with no intention of selling at all. And I suspect that's probably what this is. I think that the owner of this car, because we saw this car at car shows, so the owner of the dealership was driving this thing around, digging it, enjoying it, and finally said, okay, it's time to get off this thing, and they chose an online platform. I think they would have got more money on BAT.
A quick question. Do you think they left money on the table? What do you think, Frank? Could this car have brought more money anywhere else?
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. Let me couch this with, since leaving Cars and Bids in February, I've sort of decompressed from paying attention to the market and focusing more on doing photo stuff. So, I know P-Car has changed hands this year. I don't know if that is how and if that has impacted their ability to function as a proper organization or not. hopefully
watch some back episodes of our show, and you'll see some answers to that, because the answer is they haven't. It has not gotten better there. All right, guys, we have a lot of cars to cover, so let's try to speed this up and move through these next couple of cars so we can get to brand new predictions. All right, what's the next one on the list, Deeb?
Okay, on Cars and Bids, they had a 2021 Lotus Evora GT with a manual transmission showing 17,000 miles on a clean California title out of San Jose. Our friends at Cars and Bids, our friends at Classic.com with the Freudian slip, tell us that an Evora GT from 2021 is still about a $100,000 conversation in the secondary market. Our car being a 2021 with 17,000 miles, I didn't think it would get to 100 grand. My bid, $89,000. JP gave us a much lower bid of $79,999, citing that Emiras are starting to fall below the $100,000 mark. Thus, that's going to push or compress or hold down the potential value of a secondary market Evora GT. Frank, what do you think of this car? Give us a bid for it. Just give us a number.
Yeah. What was yours again, Deeb?
I was at 89. JP was at 80.
Okay. I was going to say 89, but that feels wrong now. So let's just call it 90.
90. Okay. And so JP was correct. This car not only hammered for $71,500, but the owner accepted that money, and the car sold on 21 bids. JP, if when we had covered it, you would have told me the hammer was 71, I would have swore up and down that it wouldn't sell for that number. So I'm going to go ahead and say really well bought. Even though the car is ugly, I just think that's a ton of performance and a relatively young car for the money. That's well bought. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Emira is a far better looking car. I don't know if there has been a better upgrade on a model line since the 997 preceded the 996, right? I mean, this car really is ugly. I mean, this is just not an attractive car. You go to the Emira and it's absolutely gorgeous. The flip side is this is a GT. It's a much better car than any current Emira spec. So probably a better driver car, but you just don't want to look at it. And if you're behind the wheel, I guess who cares? The fact that the value of these is going down is good news for those who want to enjoy something like this and actually just get out on the roads. But for my money, I'm buying an Emira anyway, just because the Emira is just so damn pretty, and it happens to be a great driver car. What do you think of the result, Frank?
Yeah, I think the mileage held it back a little bit. 17,000 miles isn't a ton, but on a 21 for something like this that nobody's really dailying, I think that hurt it. And color combo. I think this was a brighter, more flashy color. It's a flashy car. If you want silver over black and something less flashy, you're buying a Boxster or a Cayman. So
there you go. Good take. All right, JP, we are going to take a quick look at our 1980 Fiat Strada that was running no reserve and showing, Frank, are you ready for this? Just 3,900 miles from new, located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The bad news here is that it's a 3-speed automatic. If this thing had a manual transmission, I think I would have bid on it. I didn't even know this car was available in the United States, and I love Fiats. So a cute little 5-door, but the automatic certainly, that's a little bit of rain on your Cheerios. JP, Classic.com tells us that the Fiat Ritmo, often brings $9,450, and I would say most of those are manual. My bid was 7. Your bid was 8. Frank, throw a number at the Fiat Strada with an automatic. Hint, hint.
$6,150, Bob.
And you would have won because our car hammered for just $4,800, where it sold on 11 bids. I'd be shocked if that car is getting on a truck. I imagine somebody will just go to Pittsburgh and drive it home, and it won't make it home. So there you go. That's the whole thing on the Fiat. One last car, JP. Buddha sent us this 2018 Polaris RZR by Porsche, a one-of-one build by Porsche Engineering, utilizing a 925cc turbocharged 2-cylinder and other extensive modifications, including 997 GT3 bucket seats and some fancy, precious metal wheels with low-profile tires. JP, somebody has to explain to me why an off-road car has low-profile road tires. Showing just 400 miles out of Arizona and on Cars and Bids. We wondered aloud, JP, if some crazy Porsche freak would buy this just to add it to his collection and say, I've got a Polaris by Porsche. John, friends at classic.com tell us that the Polaris RZR is typically $28,000. I thought this one with all the Porsche tie-ins would bring $50,000. You were not so enthused. Your bid, $39,000. Frank, I know you've never heard of this thing because it's the only one that exists. What's your bid on a Polaris with Porsche ties?
God, who the hell knows? I'm thinking it's not. I don't think it's going to get a whole lot more. I'm thinking like 37.
Oh wow, he's really bearish on it. A guy who doesn't currently own a Porsche, I'm guessing, huh? Our car hammered for $45,000 where it's sold on 36 bids. JP, that result is impressive all by itself. If that was on Bring a Trailer, say, damn, $45,000, well done. The fact that he did it on Doug's site is like effing hell. Booyah. There, another tip of the cap, JP, another bite of the crow. Well done. I know my bid was 50, but that's kind of because I'm a Porsche fanboy. I didn't actually think it would get there. And man, 45,000 on cars and bids, way to go.
Yeah, this car is badass. Shout out to the previous owner, the seller. Apparently, he heard about our show and he was all excited about it. He's like, "That's my car!" So shout out to him. I should have written his name down. I don't know if he's watching tonight. If you are, leave a message. Let us know what you think of the result. Previous owner of this car. Look, a lot of the people in the chatter were talking. There were multiple people in the comments of the listing saying, there's no way this thing's getting more than $30,000. And the fact is, it didn't. This car did not go for more than $30,000. Someone bought the car for $30,000, and then they bought a set of 997 GT3 seats for $15,000, which is what those seats are worth. You could take those seats out and put regular seats in this Polaris, and it would probably be worth about $30,000, and you could get your 15 out of the seat. So I don't know, this thing's really cool if you're into something like this, but I just can't imagine spending $45,000 on it. But hey, someone else did, and if you're the new owner, let us drive it. I want to take it for a ride. And you know what, by the way, if you're watching right now, if you're in the nerd herd, again, thank you for hanging out with us on your Sunday night. But go to all the listings that we're going to talk about and make predictions here on the rest of the show and say that you heard about the car on Bid Nerds. That really seems to help us out. So let's get to it. Deeb, is it time for predictions?
No, it's time for a commercial.
It is time for a commercial. So we're going to do that first, and we will be right back with brand new predictions right after this.
Hey guys, Vegas Auto Fest, presented by Lamborghini Las Vegas and Audi Henderson, is the most Vegas car show of the year. And it's happening at Red Rock Country Club, September 13th. Cars, food, music, showgirls, and amazing prizes. Tickets start at just $20. Kids under 16 are free.
See you at Vegas Auto Fest 2025.
Vegas Auto Fest is September 13th at the Red Rock Country Club, presented by Lamborghini Las Vegas and Audi Henderson.
Vegas Auto Fest, the drivers are coming.
Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, we are back. I'm sitting here talking during the show, during the commercials. Welcome back. I'm looking at my Aviera Our Smiths watch right here going, it is time for predictions. But before we do that, make sure you go and get tickets to Vegas Auto Fest coming up on September 13th here in Las Vegas. That is my show with my partner over there at the Red Rock Country Club, Chef William. We are super excited about that show. Frank, are we going to get you out to Vegas here in a couple of weeks?
You know, you guys dangled showgirls in front of my face. Yep. But I don't know what my schedule will allow. I'd love to though. Maybe I can take this little Chevy Sprint Turbo behind me.
I will give you a badass spot for that car.
Bring Frank the Fifth.
Sure, yeah, let's go. Vegas, baby.
Put him on a leash though. It's that's what we recommended. There's lots of stuff all over the place. I'm kidding.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. It is time for predictions, everybody. What's the first car on the list? Michael D, what do we got?
JP, ever since I heard there's a wizard living and breathing and doing business in Arkansas that can do a manual swap, a 6-speed manual swap to a CLK63 AMG Black Series, I am re-infatuated with this car. And I found the nicest one ever as a 2008 CLK63 AMG Black Series. It's white with just 13,000 miles. This car looks brand new. At a Costa Mesa, JP, with ridiculously low miles. Arctic white, according to the bid turn, is as rare as I assumed it would be, thus making them sort of quantifiably more money. This one, JP, just sort of ticks all the boxes. And I'm wondering aloud if like somebody pays top dollars for this car and then goes and drops like only another $20,000 in Arkansas and does a manual swap, does this suddenly become a $200,000 or close to $250,000 example? And I'm just wondering if somebody would have the cojones to do it. So JP, really, really cool car. Black Series are super rare. And this one, you know, everything that we heard about the manual swap means that it's super awesome. To me, this is the one that you would buy and do all the premium stuff to. So I really like the listing, the car itself, the listing, maybe not so much. They're trying to take photos in a showroom. I don't think that ever works. This car needs to be out in the wild. But I feel like the car will stand up on its own, and I think it will be, you know, perhaps a high watermark for the car. I just wonder if there's renewed interest because of this manual swap that the guys over at OTS did, you know, with this guy in Arkansas. Is demand for these cars inching up because people are thinking, hey, we could do that swap. So this might be the nicest one. I wonder if they're suddenly more valuable and will bring even more than I assume. And I'm obviously very bullish on this car. So JP, 13,000 miles, Arctic white, and a cool car to begin with the potential of dropping another 20 and making it one of the best cars you've ever driven. Feast your eyes on this one, JP. Where you at? White, or does it have to be black? JP, I know you want your black to be black, but I don't mind if my black is white.
Why are they called the Black Series? I actually don't know. Does anybody know that?
So that was like
black.
Yeah, it's their skunk work. So they only do a Black Series every couple of years to a particular model. They make the fewest of them, and they're the highest performance of that model. So
yeah, I know that. I know all that. Yeah. But why is it called black? Like, what's the deal with the whole black thing? And like, almost everyone I've seen hasn't been black. Frank, what do you think?
Black label.
CLK63.
I love these cars. I really, really, really love the motors in these, and always thought it was a shame that they were always saddled with the automatic transmission. So yeah, Deep, everything you're illustrating, you know, Derek and Jason here in the Bay Area have done a lot of pub on these cars, and the fact that you can swap them over. So all of that said, do you want me to pick a number, or are we not doing that?
Not yet. We'll come back to it.
We'll give you last bid.
Got it. Okay.
All right, JP. Our friends at Classic.com tell us that the Black Series, on average, brings about $124,000 in the secondary market. This particular Black Series down there in Costa Mesa, California, at DJM Investments, who have bid on some of our cars. I recognize that handle. They have recently bid on a few cars, so I don't know exactly who they are, but a shout out to them. And take the car outside to shoot it, you guys. 13,000 miles and Arctic white, JP. I think our car is sitting at $114,000, and it has 3 days to go until it closes. John, I like this car. I think it's going to do really well. My bid, $163,000, and that should get it done. Wow. I wouldn't be surprised if it brings more, but 163, I think, is totally in play for this white Black Series.
Yeah, really cool car. I've never really understood the appeal of these cars for as long as they've been around because of the lack of a 3-pedal version. It is interesting that you mentioned that that's now an option that's on the table. Do we really think that the fact that is a possibility, that's raising the value of these? I don't think so. I'm 99% sure that whoever buys this is just going to leave it the way it is, and I think most of the buyers that buy them do that. The person that goes to the trouble of swapping it is a rarity, even though it is an absolutely fantastic thing to do. If this car had already had that swap done, then I think that would be far more relevant to the bid here. But you know, I mean, for $150,000, you're well into good GT3 territory, and I can't imagine spending $150,000 on a car that doesn't have 3 pedals for a performance car, that is. But I'll go ahead and say 150 $150,063 and hand it off to Frank. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a tough one to replicate, right? Based on the mileage, based on the color.
Right.
Absolutely kills me that this is in Costa Mesa, and in SoCal, there's the world's largest population of professional automotive photographers, and none of them got anywhere close to this car, which is a shame. I would do inappropriate things to take this thing out and do a photo set with it. So, I do think these cars are on the come, and I do think that. But I do also agree with JP. I don't think someone's immediately going to buy it to push it and get the swap done. Even if they think they are, they're probably not going to actually go through. I'm going to say 100. I'm bullish on it, though. I'm going to say 160 flat.
There you go. 160 flat. So you're still underneath me. Frank, you made a strong point about this car being in an area where there's so many fantastic photographers that obviously you and JP personally know. My counter question to that is, do these assets hold back a potentially higher number? Would this car, even with the same seller and the same platform, would this car, golden hour, sunset shots, and maybe a great driving video, would that have helped this car possibly bring more than your bid of 160?
Absolutely. To be clear, I don't know that it will hold someone back from bidding on it, but I think it will hold back from getting people in the room. If you don't have that jumpy lead image for someone to click on when they're doom scrolling in bed, and it doesn't jump off the page to get you to click on it, you just roll. It's an SLK. You're scrolling by, a CLK. It just looks like a CLK. But if it jumps off the page,
CLK63 even. I mean, just those are only. That's a $25,000 car. It's interesting looking at the Nerd Herd's takes. I think some of it's generational. I think some of it's because we're talking about this whole 3-pedal thing, right? Does it raise the value? Does it lower the value? Some of the folks in the Nerd Herd are going, no one's going to do a swap on a 13,000-mile car. I think with the presumption that that's low miles. And then other people think that 13,000 miles for a collector car is high miles. And then, friend of the show, Chris Carbine, says there aren't any good collector grade swaps, implying that that a collector isn't going to want one that's swapped, or that the swaps aren't good enough. Maybe they diminish the car. They're not buttoned up well enough. I'm kind of deferring back to what Frank said earlier, that this is more of a young timer car, that the person that's probably going to spend the money on this is someone that wants that experience. And I don't think they care about the long-term value of this thing. They care more about how much fun it is. And I don't think that a third pedal would hold it back. But what do you guys think of that discussion that's going on in the Nerd Herd in the live chat right now?
Frank, you want to start?
Yeah, I definitely don't. For these cars, this was not somebody that they bought this thing and then pushed it into daily commuter service. These were all from new, pretty special. So 13,000 miles is not a ton of miles for these, even though they can handle it. Like, it's just like a regular CLK, engine, transmission, all that stuff. So you can pack miles on these cars, but people did not put miles on it. So I think this is a perfect swap candidate. And I agree. I think if someone wants to do a swap, you don't do that as a collector. You do that because you want to drive the damn thing.
Yeah. Interesting. And so just to address a couple of things. So first of all, Dana's at 181, and I think that could theoretically happen. Somebody else was asking, this car is an automatic, but this guy in Arkansas that's doing the swap is using all Mercedes parts. And JP will tell you, I'm the first one to pound the desk to leave it alone. But I think that these cars, because they never came as a manual, that if it's a $150,000 car at JP's number or whatever, and you spent $20,000 to do the swap, I think that the car is now worth more than $170,000 because it's done. I do. I really do.
Get out of here. Look, Toyota Supra. They call it a 2003 or whatever. That is or what's the big Supra? I'm sorry, like a 96 or something like 93,
that.
The early 90s Supra, sorry, off by a decade there. Those Supras are definitely awesome. The ones that came with automatics are great swap cars, but even when you swap them, they're never worth more than the original ones that have manuals. Same thing with the Ferraris, the 430s and the 360s.
Roll reversal.
You know, so I just don't see it. I don't see it necessarily hurting the value, but I don't see it increasing the value. I don't think it's a wash. What do you think, Frank? And then we got to move on from this thing.
Yeah, I think if it was a delivery mile car, I think you'd be spot on. 13,000 miles, this car's getting driven. And so if you give them the 3 pedals and somebody's buying it for enjoyment, it will be a more enjoyable thing. Will you come out ahead of that $20,000? I'd like to think so, but only one.
All right, let us know in the comments, guys. We got lots of cars to cover. What's next?
All right, JP. I selected for us a 2012 Porsche 987.2 generation Cayman R with a 6-speed manual transmission. JP, these are really rad cars. This one only has 7,000 miles on it, and it's on P-Car Market, listed out of Shelton, Connecticut. But the big thing here, JP, so it's a 6-speed manual, not a PDK. It does have the carbon racing buckets. Cool. It does not have ceramics, which are very rare on these cars. So it's Steely's, buckets, manual, low miles. So you think this car should go crazy. However, our bid turn, who is a genius, by the way, did a little deep dive on this car and found out that this car previously transacted on Bring a Trailer, where it sold for $65,000. Now the car has come almost immediately back, like less than 100 days, right back to market, and now it's on another platform. So the question has to be posed, why not go back to Bring a Trailer with it? What's the deal? The other thing, too, is that this car has had paint work, and typical with P-Car Market, there are no photos in the bucket of paint meter readings. So extensive paint work from a previous accident. There is some stuff in the Carfax. The car recently transacted, and now they're taking a second bite of the apple and on, let's just say, the inferior platform. JP, this is a really cool car. This, like, I don't know if you've been watching, but Cayman R's that do all the things that this one do typically bring more money. A lot of money. If this car was all first paint, I'd say it's an $80,000 car, especially in a desirable colorway like black. But this one has had paint work. This one did sell this summer, and this one is poorly or not thoroughly presented on Who's He What's It. So those paint meter readings in the thing?
They are paint meter readings. Yeah, I thought.
Are they in the natural bucket or in the thing?
They are.
All right. Well, let's.
Yeah, it's okay. They're kind of hard to read. They were off of a cell phone, some kind of Bluetooth leaky.
Fair play, but there you go. So JP, thank you for correcting me so that we don't
I
slander
didn't correct you. I just showed photos. That's all.
That's a correction.
Just here asking questions,
anyway,
right?
All right, JP. Any love for a Cayman R? And then again, if you bought the car on BAT and you immediately tried to get off of it, where would you go with the car?
Well, it's. Okay, so it was sold back in April, so that's not this summer. That's enough time that BAT.
Not even 6 months. That's October would be 6 months after April. This is
but still,
August.
I mean, we're basically at the end of September. I'm sorry, we're at the end of August now. You know, selling in April. That was spring. Things were very different this last spring. Things were scary last spring. The news every other day was something terrible. It was the end of the world, or there's going to be a war or whatever. Well, honestly, it has though.
Refresh your browser, Frank. Everything's going to be all right.
Oh, God.
Look, there's still people fretting about it, but it's like it's the old adage, like it's people are used to it. It's the new normal. Back in April, it was like, oh, this is a new thing. It's going to be the end. And then it's going to be a new thing at the end. At this point, everyone's like, all right, enough. We know the world's going to end. We're done with it. We're just going to go back to doing things that we like to do. I think people aren't paying attention to what's going on in the news. And we're going into the fall, and that will change. People will start spending more time on their phones and on their media, and they won't be able to go out and drive. And I think they're going to start getting freaked out again because, like Frank says, sure, there are lots of real things out there that are causing issues. Look, this particular car, I'd way rather have this one than that CLK63 Black Series, because this one has 3 pedals. You don't have to mess with swapping it out and going through all that nonsense. That's the way this car came. This is a true driver's car. I love it, even though it is on a platform that I'm not particularly in love with. What do we think it's going to bring, Deeb?
Frank, you want to say anything about the car?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, these cars. No, these cars rule.
Yeah.
If I don't know, all you need to do is follow behind somebody in a 911 in one of these, and have them point you by, and then you become a truther. I love these platforms. I think they're great. It'll be really interesting to see where this one lands.
Absolutely. All right, JP. So to jump into the numbers here, our friends at classic.com tell us that a Cayman R, 2012 Cayman R, one-unit only car with a manual transmission is typically a $67,000 conversation. Again, this car transacted for just $65,000 on Bring a Trailer. And despite having crazy low miles, I think it had everything to do with the accident that it had that was disclosed on the Carfax. If this car had not been involved in an accident, didn't have paint work, I think, JP, this would be a well over $80,000 example. John, our car is currently sitting at $40,000 on 4 bids and closes tomorrow. In fact, it closes in less than 17 hours. JP, from 40 grand. I think this car will get a few more bids. Again, there's no way it can't, because these are desirable machines with that gearbox and that odometer. But I don't think it'll get back to the 65 the guy paid for it. So my bid, John, despite criticizing it, is $59,872. 59872. There you go.
All right. I think it does get back to where it was, because I think these are great cars. They're hard to find. I don't think anybody really cares that much about the paint issue. Yeah, add a rear bumper repaint. Who cares? And this car represents a value at $65,000. Yeah, if it was perfect, it would probably, I agree with you, that it'd be in that $80,000 range. So that's freaking awesome. I can get a car that has a replaced bumper and have all the same enjoyment as the guy who has a perfect original bumper and pay $20-something thousand less. Frank, what's your number?
What's your number, JP?
So
65? JP.
Oh, yeah, it said 65. Same, yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
You know,
ahead, Frank, thank you.
These cars rule. I really am a big fan of these. A bumper doesn't bug me, but the platform does. I think I've seen a lot of alumni cars do quite well, especially if they have a superior level of presentation than when it ran the first time. That said, I do think this is I think it will beat its prior bid. I'm gonna say this does 66. And what happens is then P-Car jumps up and down and makes a bunch of noise saying how they perform better than Bring a Trailer.
Wow!
But I think it's just I think it's more market.
Yeah.
I think it's more market dynamics, and I think it's just these are great cars, and I think it underperformed before. I think it's going to regress to the mean. I'm going 66.
Yeah, the market is just hotter than it was back in April by every standard. So let us know what you guys think. Let's move on. What's the next car?
All right. Based on the collection of cars in Frank Harrington's garage, feast your eyes on this rocket ship, a 1974 Volkswagen Brasilia. JP, I honestly don't know anything about these cars, but man, one look at the silhouette of this thing, and this old lump of coal here is totally in love. This thing is so gorgeous. It really, really has beautiful lines. It's an air-cooled rear-engine 1.6-liter flat 4. JP, is there enough room to throw a Type 4 in there? And is this thing rear-wheel drive? I love it. 4-speed manual transaxle. It looks like it's been cleaned up from the photos from when they found it. It's listed out of Colorado Springs. And JP, it's running no reserve. If it didn't have that stupid rag top, I honestly would be thinking very hard about this car, but that rag top scares me. It's just wet enough out here that I don't want to deal with a leaky roof. If I wanted a leaky roof, I'd buy a 914. So JP, where are you at on a Volkswagen Brasilia? And knowing how much you love VWs, I am not going to be the least bit surprised when you tell me you've previously owned one. Yeah?
Technically, I have. I had a
I knew it.
I had an Invimo 90, so it was a 356 Cabrio replica, not a Speedster replica, but an actual Cabrio replica. There was a company out of Brazil back in the 80s that was they were selling military vehicles to both Iran and Iraq during the Iran-Iraq War, and they made so much money, and the guys happened to love Porsches, so they started making fake Porsches. And Porsche apparently was selling these damn things in Porsche dealerships. That's a whole other story. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Brasilia. The California top, the rag top, is the best part of this car. That's what would make this thing tons of fun. But
in Vegas,
I mean, park it in a garage or something like that. Come on, man, you got park things outside. This thing is not going to be fast. 1600 cc Type 1. That is going to be pretty slow. And oh, by the way, this thing does not have German quality when it comes to the building of this car, nor does it have Mexican quality. This thing has South American build quality because this thing was built in Brazil. Woo! What do you think, Frank?
I'm super into it. Shocker, right? I mean, it looks like a Volkswagen Squareback got cream pied by a first gen Accord hatchback, and this thing developed. And it's rad. I agree with JP that California top is part of the thing. I don't think you worry about like, oh, but it might break and this whole car might break and you're not getting parts for it unless it's like off the shelf air cooled VW parts, which probably 2/3 of it is. Yeah, this thing is really cool. It takes the right buyer, but I think hopefully it'll find it.
You guys might be surprised how easy it is to find parts for these because they stopped making these not that long ago. And because this is a South American car, these are very common. These are still on the road. The service life of cars like this is much longer than they are here in America. You know, down there in South America, you have something with 4 wheels and a motor. You are going to try to make it last as long as you can because it's impossible to replace anything. Nobody has any money down there. So parts are actually not as hard to find as you might think. I had a really bad ignition issue with my Invimo, and I was like, oh my God, this is based on a Brasilia. What am I going to do? And it was like, yeah, no problem. On the part. So anyways, what do we think it's going to break?
JP, I'm just taking emotional ownership of this car. I absolutely love it. So I'm learning as I'm reading that this car is built on a Ghia chassis. And you're right, JP, they made this car for quite a while, all the way up to 1982, which you would never look at that and think it's an 80s car, which is really funny. JP, the plaid interior, echoing some GTI theme there. But how cool would it be to get some of those GT classics fixed back seats that are leather bolstered and corduroy down the center in an all black interior? I could just see this car just coming to life. John, our car is sitting at just $4,600. That comes to us by way of 8 bids. Those are criminally low numbers, but Volkswagen Brasilias are only an $11,000 conversation in the secondary market. That being said, this car closes tomorrow. It's running no reserve, and it's way out in Colorado Springs, Colorado. JP, it's got a long way to go, but I want to believe that this cute little car is going to do better than average. So my bid is $12,000, but it's going to have to basically triple where it's at to get to my bid and make me a winner, or I just buy it myself for 8. But anyway, $12,000 is my bid, JP. I'm bidding with my heart, not my head. Where are you at on the Brasilia?
If you do buy this thing, definitely give me the keys. I want to take it for a ride, but whatever you do, please don't take the lovely and adorable and precious baby Celeste in the backseat of this thing. This car doesn't have any crumple zones. It is a crumple zone. This is the least safe vehicle probably on the road. You're safer in a Volkswagen. My number is 99.9. I don't think it breaks 10 grand. So 9999. And hand it off to Frank. What do you think?
You know what? I'm bullish on it. There are an awful lot of Brazilian expats in this country, and I can see a couple of them with deep pockets, putting on some capoeira moves and breakdance fighting each other for this thing. I'm thinking it's going to be someone who's going to buy this will speak Portuguese, and it will go for $13,500.
$13,500, Frank. I like that. Is it going to have a Senna helmet or a Brazilian flag sticker in the rear quarter?
Brazilian flag, for certain.
That's right.
Could the perfect 2-car solution be one of these and a Puma in your garage? There you go.
Which Puma? The Uabian Puma? Hopefully the Uabian
Brazilian Puma. Whatever that fiberglass piece of junk. All right, let's move on. What's the next car? What do we got?
All right, JP, one last car, and this one comes to us from New Orleans, Louisiana. Feast your eyes on a 1969 Lotus Europa S2. in Carnival Red. It has a mid-mounted Renault-sourced 4-cylinder engine and a 4-speed manual transmission. Now, this is one of the most distinctive looking cars of all times, and many manufacturers made a couple of one-off cars, and cars that are shaped like this. I'm thinking of the Ferrari GTO, Frank, is called the bread van, but I don't know that I've ever heard anybody refer to this Lotus with those big closed boxed in, sort of from the B pillar back, as a bread van. A 2-seat lightweight sports car, JP. These cars are known to handle really, really well, but they make virtually no horsepower. That's not that important when you consider how light this car is. I don't have performance figures in my at my disposal, but Frank, tell me, this car probably weighs got to be like 11 or 1,200 pounds, dripping wet. So JP, this is another our buddy Chris Carbine down in New Orleans has been on a tear and has been getting some really cool cars with the, Frank, tell me the name of the program that Cars and Bids is doing where they have somebody that's like a certified seller. What is that called?
You name dropped it right there. The Certified Seller Program.
Oh, there you go.
Deeb,
so
let's get to a number because we're right up to the end here.
Okay, cool. So out of New Orleans, our car is currently sitting at $7,777 on 4 bids. The car closes tomorrow. Classic.com tells us that these cars typically bring 24. I think this car is going to get another $10,000. So I'm going to go $17,777. JP, where you at?
I just don't know the value of these. Talk about Lotus having hit and miss when it comes to looks. I mean, this to an Esprit. Esprit is gorgeous. This, that's tough to love. But I do think people love them, and I do think there's an audience for them. Yeah, I'll park it right below you and say $16,000. Hand it off to Frank.
Yeah, I think these cars are really cool, really weird. Handling by Lotus. So I'm in support of them, and Chris and crew did a good job kind of highlighting some of the imperfections in it, which it's a vintage Lotus. They're always going to have kit car quality and imperfections. But I think a buyer feels a lot better on paying for a car like this when all of those are highlighted. So I think that's going to help it here. I see it tickling 20. I don't think it will crest 20. I'm going to say $19,250.
Right.
Does that thing not look like a hearse? Like a sports car hearse? Like you can slide a very small, short person's casket. All right, what do you guys think? Let us
hearse?
know. Yeah, what's that?
A hearse for a veterinarian.
Yeah, okay.
That was dark,
but
it was dark.
I was going to make you.
It's so
I was going to let you make some of the weird jokes there. This car, congratulations, or I don't know, congratulations not yet, but good luck to our friend Chris Carbine on this. Frank, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man.
Thanks for having me. It took too darn long, and that was all on my fault. So glad to be here. Let's do it again.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and like and subscribe. Deeb, anything you want to say before we get out of here? And Frank, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, Frank, where can we plug you?
Just you can stalk me digitally at the Photographer's Garage, mostly on Instagram. Track me down there. I take pictures of cars.
Perfect. Great stuff.
Get your AutoFest tickets, guys. See you Wednesday.